Alhamdulillah, wa salam, wa salam Allah, wa Rasulullah. Welcome to our series on diluting wal Bara. And please order the book, volume 2, from Amazon.com. But right now, we're at the end of volume 1. We're in the introduction that leads to this book. And we've been speaking about the difference between the Salaf and the Khalaf. Who can tell me who were the Salaf? And who were the Khalaf? Who can explain the difference between the two? Anyone? When we hear the Arabic word Salaf, what are we speaking about? When you hear people refer to the Salaf, who are they referring to? Anyone? Come on, people, wake up.
The first generation.
The first generation? Okay, well, do you guys agree with that answer?
It's the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, and the first 2 generations after them.
Okay, mashallah, the Salaf doesn't refer to the first generation. It refers to the first 3 generations of Muslims. The first 3 generation of Muslims. They were those who were with the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and those who came after them, and those who came after them. So when you hear that term, the person that is using it is referring to the first 3 generation of Muslims. And what makes them special is that Allah tells us in the Quran that no one understands this religion better than them. That these first 3 generations are the best of this nation. Those first 3 generations, they will be amongst those 70,000 who will not be held accountable because Allah will have forgiven them of their sins. So that's who the Salaf are, you know. And when we hear people today say that they are upon the Salaf, what they're saying is that they're not of those original companions. Of course not, because they wouldn't be living, okay? But they're practicing Islam. The person is saying that I'm practicing Islam the way they did. I'm following their methodology. I'm following their methodology. And I am applying their understanding of Islam into my life. But it's easy to say that. There's a lot of Muslims today who call themselves Salafi, and they all say that. But are they really following? Are they really upon the way of those companions? That's the question, because most people today, even though they say they are, they're not. Their understanding is not as the companions was. You know, they will disregard what the companions say for what their sheikh says. So this is what we've been speaking about. And who are the Khalaf? Who are the Khalaf? Who can tell us that? Who are the Khalaf?
They are people who don't practice Islam.
And why come they don't practice it? Give me a little bit more information.
Because they just do what they want to do. They don't make their prayers. They just don't care. They don't make their prayer. They don't follow the Quran, the Sunnah. They just completely neglect everything.
Okay, I want y'all to be able to answer it this way. The Khalaf are those people who practice Islam in a way that contradicts how the companions practiced it. Y'all understand? Who are the Khalaf? They're the ones that deviated away from the understanding that those companions had. Y'all understand what I'm saying? These are the people that deviate away from the understanding the companions had of this religion. Because again, Allah says the companions were the best of this nation. They set the record for the rest of us. They set the example and the bar for the rest of us. Anyone who practices this religion in a way other than how they practice is khalaf. Y'all understand? They're khalaf. If you're not praying the way the companions prayed, you're khalaf. Okay? If your understanding contradicts their understanding, it's khalaf. Okay? My sister's here in the Emirates. Yeah, I know. She said my car got better. Yeah, it's getting better. I'm working on it. Inshallah. Inshallah. Okay, so alhamdulillah. So that's what we've been speaking about today. As Muslims, we today should be following the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions. We should be trying to emulate them in our practice, emulate them in our belief. Everybody understand that? And so let me put the PowerPoint up on the screen for today's lecture, because today we're going to speak about, what lens did the companions look through in regards to wal Bara. Everybody, and again, I put on here on the Facebook page what page that we're starting from. This is the back of the blue book. This was page 264, or was it 254? But that's where this is. We're going to speak about
62.
Which one was it? Go ahead.
262.
Okay, page 262. This is where everybody should be. If you got the book, open it up. This is the blue book. This is the volume 1. Open up page 262, because we're going to be speaking about allegiance as seen through the eyes of the Salaf, the first 3.
I'm sorry.
264. Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you. 264. Allegiance as seen through the lens of the Salaf, which were the first 3 generation of Muslims. Okay. I want you guys to ponder this statement here before we get into that. Listen to this statement. The latter part of this nation will not be rectified except by that which rectified its early part. Let me put that in some more plain, simple English terms. The later generations of Muslims will not be rectified unless they change to that which the early generation of Muslims were upon. And this is a statement from Imam Malik. This is not a hadith from the Prophet. This is from Imam Malik. And who was Imam Malik? He was one of the renowned scholars of the early generations. Okay? And this statement that he made holds significant insight into how we can reform ourselves as Muslims. Subhanallah. Today, Allah has shown us how he is displeased with us because he sent war. Allah says that he sends war as a sign of his anger. He also sends war as a means of cleansing the earth of corrupt people. And he also sends war as a means of differentiating who the true believers are from the hypocrites. So we have a war going on right now. And this is just the beginning. Okay? These are times of hardship for us as Muslims. These are times of calamity. The only way that we can get the attention of Allah to the point where He can make the war be in our favor is by us turning back to the understanding that those companions had. This is a wake-up call for us. It's a wake-up call. We're not practicing Islam the way we should. We've deviated away from the Quran. We've deviated away from the hadiths. We've taken fatwa from websites, from men that we worship, instead of worshiping Allah, from men who we honor, instead of honoring the Prophet Muhammad. And we've allowed these men to make things lawful that Allah made haram, and to make things haram that Allah made lawful. So Allah is angry at us. So He's sending. This is not sent by Israel. Israel don't have the power. They're just puppets. Allah is the one that sent this war. It's a wake-up call. Allah is trying to tell you and me something. He's trying to tell us we need to check ourselves. Check our belief system. Do we truly believe La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah? Do we truly have allegiance to Allah, to His Prophet, to the Muslims, or is our allegiance misplaced? So this statement that Imam Malik, and he was one of the early generation, he said that our situation will not be rectified unless we change ourselves and reform ourselves and get upon that which the early Muslims were on. We need to return to the same principles and values that they had. We have to learn to love for the sake of Allah and hate for the sake of Allah, instead of allowing our personal likes and dislikes to govern us. So by recognizing the importance of those early Muslims in setting the foundations of Islamic thought and practice, what Imam Malik is saying here is that any efforts to rectify or improve the later generations, it must be rooted in the same methodology and the same approach that those companions took. And this methodology includes having a deep understanding and a faithful implementation of the Quran and the Hadith, along with us making the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam our life coach. I get so tired of hearing Muslim women and men call themselves life coaches. You ain't nobody's life coach. The life coach for the Muslim is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's my life coach. You can't even be a mentor to me, because my mentor is Salama. My mentor is Aisha radiallahu anha. My mentor is Atiya, Atika, Hakam. I don't need you to mentor me. I got the best mentors and I got the best life coach. But we've deviated away from that. How many of us can say that? I hear so many of you sisters, because you guys put me in your groups. You take these famous women celebrities who are innovators, and you say that these women celebrities is your role model. This is you want to be like her. And here this woman ain't even dressed properly. You want to be like her. Here's a woman standing up in a group with a group of men talking about nothing. Okay, she's your role model. Your role model should be Aisha radiallahu anha. Zainab, her sister Zainab. I did the story of Zainab yesterday. A story of sacrifice, a story of patience, a story of love. She should be your role model. Maymuna, that should be your role model. Subhanallah, not these corrupt women of today. Subhanallah, we're the worst generation. Don't you guys know the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said each generation of Muslims will become further and further and further away from Islam. And each generation of Muslim will become worse than the previous one, to the point that when the last hour comes, whoever is living on earth at that time will be kafir. So if the last hour was to come right now, don't you know that we would all be kafir? We'd all be the ones all in hell. So how can you take any woman or man from today as your mentor, your role model, your hero? Your hero should be those female companions. Subhanallah. And for you brothers, your hero should be those male companions. Radiallahu anha, for all of them, okay? So, if we want to improve our situation with Allah, we have to get back to understanding this religion the way the companions did and practicing it the way they did. And that's what this statement of Imam Malik's highlights. And I want y'all to ponder that statement and look at your personal life and recognize the changes that you need to make. For you sisters out there who are not dressing properly, like I told y'all, don't ever send me no video of that Somali woman who, well, I don't even know her name. I can't remember. She's some congresswoman. I ain't never seen her with a khimar on or a jilbab yet. She got a turban on, which is, by the way, haram. Muslim women cannot wear turbans. You're cursed. Here's a woman that's walking around with the curse of Allah on her because she wears a turban. She wears a pair of tight-fitting pants with a little jacket to show her shape and her bumps. I don't care what she got to say about anything. This woman is openly showing that her allegiance is not to Allah, it's not to the Prophet, it's not to the Muslims. Her allegiance is somewhere else, probably being like she is a congresswoman. Okay? We got to get our heroes together. We need to recognize who our heroes are. If the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were living today, what would he say about her? Would he call her somebody to be admired? Would she be someone that he would point out as being a hero and admirable when she's not even obeying Allah in her dress? And if she's not obeying Allah in her dress, that makes me question if she even makes salah, if she even prays. Subhanallah, if she even takes a stingeon. Does she even clean herself the way we clean ourselves? Remember, guys, if you don't have allegiance to Allah and to the believers, and that means you ain't got no allegiance to our way of life. That person probably doesn't even take a stingeon. She doesn't probably even clean her private parts after using the bathroom. Subhanallah, don't send me videos of her. She ain't nobody to me. If the war were to break out right now, she'd be on the opposite side. I'd have to take her out. She ain't nobody for me to admire. Maybe you. Maybe that's where your faith is. But it ain't mine. Subhanallah. We need to try to get back to being like those companions, practicing this religion the way they did, dressing like them, performing the prayers like they did, brothers, going to the masjid, all this picketing and what you call that, protesting, but you ain't at the masjid. Your reward as a man is at the mosque. What did the Prophet teach us to do in times of calamity? He told the companions in times of war, fill the masjids. Fill the masjids up. Okay? None of you Muslims are doing that. In times of war, spread the greeting. Spread the greeting of Assalamu alaikum to show our solidarity. None of you are doing that either. In times of solidarity, hold tight to the rope of Islam. That means dress the part. That means be the part. You guys ain't doing that. So until you turn back to practicing this religion the way those companions did, your situation will never get better. And that's what this statement means. Okay? So that brings us to the question, how did the companions approach wal Bara? In other words, how did they approach the concept of allegiance and disassociation? And how did they approach the concept when compared to the Caliph? That's what we're going to talk about now. Okay? Wal Bara. This Arabic term refers to having allegiance towards Allah and disassociation. Disassociating yourself from anything that opposes what Allah says. And this is a crucial aspect of our belief system. This is the second part of the Shahada. When we declare La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, this is the second part of that Shahada. It emphasizes the importance of having allegiance to the other Muslims and disassociating yourself from those who oppose the true path of Islam. The true path. That's why I told y'all, don't send me no videos of that woman. I have nothing to say about her good. Nothing at all. The true path of Islam. I'm going to disassociate myself. Lailanasheeba disassociates from anyone who half steps with the religion. I don't have friends who half step. My close friends are like me. They take the religion serious. I don't hang out with half steppers. Subhanallah. I disassociate from those weak people. So the doctrine of wal Bara, entails that. And it's based on the principles of Tawheed. And what is Tawheed? Tawheed is the concept of the oneness and unity of Allah. So Tawheed is the first part of the Shahada. The oneness and unity of Allah is the first part of the Shahada. And wal Bara, which is a loyalty and disassociation, is the second part of it. That's what I've been teaching you guys for years here. And to fully grasp this understanding, you have to adopt the companion's perspective. In order to understand this, you have to adopt their perspective. I've been teaching this since 1986. And a lot of you still don't get it. And the reason why you're not grasping it is because you have to have that understanding that those companions had. A lot of you have role models, like that woman that wears the turban. She's a role model to a lot of y'all. You have a lot of these innovators, women who speak in front of men. They're your role models. You have the Caliph. Technically, you have the Caliph as your role models. That's why you don't understand La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah as you should. That's why many of you are celebrating birthdays when you shouldn't be. That's why many of you are celebrating Thanksgiving when you shouldn't be. Okay, that's why many of you are married to men who are not Muslims. That's why many of you are living with men who are not your husbands, caring for men who are not mahrams to you, because you don't truly understand the concept of allegiance and tawheed. If you understood those things, you wouldn't be committing those type of sins. Okay? The companions understood what tawheed entails, and they understood what allegiance entails. You wouldn't find the companions celebrating any of the early Arabic holidays. Like the prophet said, every people have their holidays. That's their holiday. Our holidays is the Eid al-Adha and the Eid al-Fitr. Okay? You didn't see any companions celebrating the Prophet Muhammad's birthday because they understood what Tawheed means. They understood the concept of allegiance. Okay? Until we adapt this way of thinking, we're going to be Khalaf. Now let's talk about the Khalaf, the Salafi. Now first let me talk about the Salafi. When you hear this term Salafi, I talked about this yesterday. Salafi is not a noun. It's a verb. Salafi is not a group. It's a verb. It means I am practicing my religion with the understanding of the companions, and I am following their example, implementing Islam into my life the way they did. That's what Salafi means. It's not a group. People have made it a sect. They've made it 25 different sects. But that's not the meaning of this term, okay? So when I say the Salafi way, what I mean is, as a verb, the way that the companions understood Tawheed and the way that the companions practiced Islam was based on the guidance of the Quran and what the Prophet said. That's it. The companions, they adhered to what Allah says, and they adhered to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them to do. Islam is only based on those two sources. It's not based on an imam's opinion. These people that call themselves Salafi, many of them, they base everything on their imam. If their imam didn't say it, they don't accept it. They'll call you a kafir in a heartbeat if you talk about their imam. They worship their imams. They love their imams. Okay? It's all about what their imam said. The companions weren't like that. The only imam they had was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they based everything on what he said and what Allah said. My cousin Mukhtar did the Caliphate of Abu Bakr yesterday. And one of the things he talked about is how when Abu Bakr was the Caliph, how he put into effect the laws of the Quran. And my cousin talked about how nowadays people don't understand, that Abu Bakr set the record. He put into effect the laws of Allah and how we're supposed to live and abide by them. But Muslims today are not aware of that. Okay, that shows how the companions were different. They didn't put nobody's laws, nobody's rules above Allah or the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For example, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if a man issues 3 pronouncements of divorce at one time to his wife, it only counts as 1. That's what the Prophet said, period, dot. But now you got brothers arguing, debating, well, Imam so-and-so, Sheikh so-and-so said it counts as just this or that. The companions weren't like that. If the Prophet said that 3 pronouncements is 1, that was it. And Umar, radiallahu anhu, made it clear. He let the people know when he was the Caliph, we already know the law. The law is 3 pronouncements count as 1. He said, but since you men want to make a mockery of Allah's laws, since you brothers want to make a joke out of divorce, I'm going to make it a rule that if you do it, you are automatically divorced your wife. So Umar didn't change Allah's law. He didn't change the prophet's law. What he did was put a rule in there to prevent people from abusing Allah's law, from abusing the prophet's rule. And the caliph can do that. And I'm pretty sure when the Mahdi comes, he will put rules in effect too. And I'm pretty sure Jesus, alayhi salam, when he comes back as the caliph of the world, he'll put rules in effect too to keep us from abusing the laws of Allah. Okay? So that's the approach that the companions took in regards to wal Bara. They based everything on the principles of Tawheed and the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah, and that's it. But on the other hand, the Khalaf are different. They base things, many of them, on intellect, on science, on analogy, on theory. Remember when we did the first book of this series, Get to Know Your Lord? I gave you guys a clue as to how you can recognize if a person's an innovator or not. We have all these so-called online Islamic schools. I want y'all to look at their curriculum. If they have theology as a class, those are innovators. There is no theology. Theology contradicts Tawheed. Okay? Well, the Khalaf, everything is based on theory, on analysis, and even science. Remember, the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, you Muslims will end up doing the same thing that the Jews did. You will use science. You will take science and use it as a means of making things lawful that Allah made unlawful, and vice versa. And we see that happen today. All these fatwas that contradict what Allah says. You want to make it haram for women to wear makeup. You want to make it haram for women to show their face. You want to make it haram to eat the food of the people of the book. You want to make it lawful. There's a fatwa. You want to make it lawful to eat pork as long as it's cooked a certain way. It's okay to listen to musical instruments. So this is happening. The later generations, we're already doing that. We're using science and theory and our own logic to try to change things. That's what the Khalaf do. And that leads to misinterpretation. That leads to confusion. Again, the only two sources of this religion is the Quran and the Hadith. That's it. Not theory, not psychology. Look at all these famous speakers. A lot of these women that y'all listen to are numbskulls. They don't know nothing about Islam, but they'll sit up on the YouTube and say, I am a psychologist. I have a PhD and a master's degree in psychology. Let me tell you how to have a happy marriage. Let me tell you how to raise your children. Let's talk about drug addiction. You're an nincompoop. You're just a ruway bidah. Those are the ruway bidah. Don't know nothing about Islam. Can tell me all about politics, all about the societal problems. But if I were to ask you what are the pillars of the prayer, you can't tell me. If I were to ask you what are the pillars of fasting, you can't tell me. If I were to ask you what are the pillars of Hajj, you can't tell me. Okay? The ruway bidah, but they have the PhDs in psychology and all of that. Okay? Subhanallah. So, the Khalaf, their approach to understanding the concept of allegiance and disassociation is based on theory, science, analysis. I want you guys to know the weapons that the Zionists are using, the Israelis are using to destroy and kill the Muslims over there. Those weapons came from America. Do you know what president gave them the weapons? Obama did. How many of you American Muslims went to and voted for Obama? Many of you famous celebrities that are sitting up on YouTube right now crying about what's going on in Palestine. Don't forget a few years ago, you were on CNN News eating turkey in the White House with Obama. And you were on YouTube enticing all the Muslims in America to go out and vote for Obama, support Obama, put him in office. Even though Allah is clear in the Quran, when Allah says they will never, ever accept you. The unbelievers will never issue anything in your favor. They will come together, even if they're worse enemies, to take you out. And I was sitting here on the internet telling y'all that voting is haram. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said a non-believer can never be a ruler over a Muslim. They can never a guardian over us. But you guys listen to those same famous personalities who are sitting on YouTube today crying a river about what's going on in Palestine, but they're the same ones that got y'all American Muslims to go out and vote. And the man y'all voted for, he's the one that sent all them weapons to Israel. This stuff was in effect. The plan was in effect back when Obama was in office. Because guess what, Muslims? Don't y'all know America has always been a Zionist country? Are you people idiots? Why do you think they say America is a Judeo-Christian? The term Judeo-Christian means Zionist. Obama was a Zionist. SubhanAllah. Biden, his buddy, is a Zionist. Reagan and them were Zionists. The only one that wasn't a Zionist was that one that was into the drugs, sex, and rock and roll. What's his name? Bill Clinton. And he really represented America. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Okay? But America's always been a Zionist country. That's why it's always been called a Judeo-Christian country. But you people didn't listen to lailanasheeba. I'm crazy. She got a loud voice. You listen to those famous celebrities and y'all put that man in office. And while he was in office, he was passing over those rockets and bombs to Israel that's killing your brothers and sisters today. Hello, when you shouldn't have been voting in an election. Allah tells us they'll never have our interests in mind, ever. The Prophet Muhammad told us they'll never have our best interests in mind. The only time that they will unite with us is when the Mahdi comes. And he ain't here. The prophet is clear, but y'all disobeyed him. You disobeyed him and listened to those celebrities. And look where we are today as a result of you. You see? See what happens when we deviate away from what those companions were upon. Okay? So we have to understand the difference between the approach that the companions took in regards to wal Bara and the approach of the Caliph. The companions, their approach is based on what Allah says and based on what the Prophet said. Whereas the Caliph will use reasoning, they will use science, theory, and all that other stuff. Okay? And I want you guys to understand, this is for my new shahadas too. I want my new shahadas to pay attention. I want y'all to even write this down. The Islamic faith, our belief system as Muslims is based on two fundamental concepts. Tawheed, which is the oneness and unity of Allah, and wal Bara, which is our allegiance that we show to him and how we disassociate from anything that opposes him. That's the two fundamental concepts of our faith. Tawheed, again, is the belief in Allah's oneness and unity, which shapes our understanding and our practice of our faith. And wal Bara is the principle of loyalty and disassociation, which requires showing loyalty to our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters and disassociating from that which opposes the true path of Islam. That's why you ain't gonna see lailanasheeba supporting some woman in a turban and no abaya. You ain't gonna see lailanasheeba giving accolades to a man that ain't got a beard, more less marrying him. By the way, I got a couple of marriage proposals. Hello, let's talk about that for a second. And I hope my brother is listening. Issa, I ain't interested in no man that ain't got no beard. Hello, can't give Layla the time of day. Take them men and throw them to the curb. Ain't interested in nobody that ain't got no beard. Hello, he's openly defined. La ilaha illallah, brother Issa, throw him to the curb. Righteous women for righteous men. So you can bounce out of my stream, cowboy. And by the way, take off your cowboy hat. You can put a turban on. Let's talk about that. Yeah, you brothers too, looking for wives, coming into my stream, contacting my brothers. Take off your cowboy hat and put a turban on. And where's your thobe? You're supposed to be Arabi. You ashamed to be an Arab? Where's your turban? Where's your gutra? Where's your tabush? Where's your thobe? You can't run with lailanasheeba looking like a cowboy. Hello, look at me. I'm a buyer and Kimar. What I look like walking with a cowboy? Hello, this ain't the wild, wild west. Seriously, we Muslims got to get it together. Where's our wal Bara? All right. So the Islamic faith is based upon those two fundamental concepts, Tawheed and wal Bara, and they are intimately connected. Tawheed is the belief in Allah's oneness, which shapes our understanding and practice. And wal Bara is the principle of loyalty and disassociation. The companions understood this, and they upheld this doctrine. Their commitment to this doctrine was rooted in their understanding of Tawheed. Let me talk about this for a second. Let me explain what Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd put here. The only way that your allegiance will be correct is if you first understand what it means to believe in Allah. Okay? You have to first understand the oneness of Allah. What does that mean? You have to first understand that only Allah is worthy of worship. If you don't understand that, you can never have the proper allegiance to him or the prophet or the believers. Example, people who don't understand that only Allah is worthy of worship, these are the people that celebrate birthdays. Birthday, celebrating a birthday, this is an action of worship. You're glorifying, you're praising someone because they were born on a certain day. This is worship. That person had nothing to do with their creation, nothing to do with their being born. But you're saying because they were born, they're worthy of a cake. They're worthy of presents. This is worshiping something other than Allah. See? So people, Muslims who celebrate birthdays, they don't understand the la ilaha illallah part. Let's talk about Turkey Day. A lot of Muslims, well, I'm going to celebrate Thanksgiving. There's nothing wrong with me thanking Allah for the good things that happened this year. Well, there is something wrong with that. Because first of all, Allah didn't tell us. He didn't tell us to only thank him one day out the year. Allah commands us in the Quran to thank him as often as we can every day. Every day. Which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? That's what Ar-Rahman. So Thanksgiving contradicts our morality. Our morality is we thank Allah every day of the year. We don't set aside one day. So I'm going to disassociate. That's wal Bara. I'm going to disassociate myself from celebrating that day. The non-Muslims pick one day out the year. We do it every day. So I'm going to disavow, disassociate. So people that celebrate Thanksgiving, those are Muslims that don't understand la ilaha illallah, the concept that Allah is one. Our allegiance is to him. It's to what he said, not what anyone else said. Our allegiance is to him, not to the pilgrims. Our allegiance is to him, the prophet and the believers, not to the forefathers of America. Not to England, not to the British, not to the Indians. Y'all get it? So the only way that we can live wal Bara correctly is by first understanding the concept of Tawheed. The companions understood it. Like I'm showing you in these stories of the female companions. When Abu Sufyan, before he converted to Islam, when Abu Sufyan came to visit his daughter, she wouldn't let him in the house. He said, I'm your father. She said, yes, but you are an enemy to Allah. And not even my father, who's an enemy to Allah, can come in the house of the prophet. She understood la ilaha illallah. Okay? I did the story yesterday of Zainab, the daughter of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet said that when Allah sent down the law saying that no Muslim woman could ever be with a non-Muslim man, she left. She obeyed him and left Mecca and came to Medina to be with him, even though she loved her husband. And even when she gave her husband refuge, she knew that I'm giving him refuge because he's my cousin and my husband, although I know I cannot be with him. Her allegiance was intact. Where's your allegiance, sisters? When Allah sent down the laws forbidding alcohol, the companions took all the alcohol in their houses and threw it out. The streets of Medina ran red from the alcohol. They didn't say why we can't drink anymore. They didn't say why we can't get drunk. They just obeyed Allah. You sisters and brothers don't obey Allah. We tell you that something is haram. Oh, really? I have to investigate it myself. And you keep on doing it. That's Khalaf. That's not Salaf. That's not the way of the companions. That's the way of the people that oppose the companions. Okay? So the companions' commitment to these principles were based on their adherence to the oneness of Allah, which is the cornerstone of our belief system. And by upholding allegiance and disassociation, they demonstrated their dedication to the true path of Islam, like those examples I just gave you. And this is why Allah says in the Quran that they were the best of this nation. Nobody on this planet out-trumps them in their dedication, in their faith, and in their practice. Okay? Also, those companions, they struggled in the way of Allah, and their struggle paved the road for the rest of us. Their understanding of Tawheed and its relationship to allegiance highlights the significance of what happens when you properly implement those positions. Look how they were. They were like one true brotherhood. They were like one true sisterhood. Okay? They were there for each other. We're not that way today. Okay? You go to the mosque to pray. You see the Arab sisters together, the Bosnian sisters together, the Somalis together, the Nigerians. We all in our own clique, our own group. Somebody of a different race or different background or color come and stand next to you, you're going to move away from them. The companions weren't like that. Okay? They were all one, even though they came from different backgrounds, different social statuses, different colors, different races. Okay? So again, this is what Imam Malik meant. He said for the later generation of Muslims, if they want to succeed in their endeavors, if they want to overcome their hardships, they have to go back to practicing this religion the way those companions did. And we need to develop the understanding that they had, not the understanding that these men and women on the internet are telling you today. That's why when I teach, I'm the only one I know to do it. I use PowerPoint like I'm doing now. So you can see that these are not the words of Layla. I'm giving you the words of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the words of Allah, but I'm breaking it down in English for you. I'm giving you the dalil, the evidence from the Quran, from the Hadith, from what the companions said, what the early Muslims said. Okay? This is how the other people should be teaching too, but they don't. But you guys are following them. Those women and men have millions of followers, and they're not teaching you nothing like what I'm teaching here. They're teaching you the opposite. But you are so sucked up to them because their voices are soft. Oh, their voices are nice. You're deluded. Okay, so the question that a lot of Muslims may ask is, Sister Layla, how, well, since it's all based on understanding Tawheed, how can I achieve perfection in my understanding of the oneness of Allah? Well, the way to do this is not easy. It involves much more than just saying that you know Allah is one. It entails loving, hating, giving, and preventing for Allah's sake. Remember that hadith I told y'all never to forget. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you will never taste the sweetness of faith until you love for the sake of Allah, and hate for the sake of Allah, give for the sake of Allah. Unless everything you do is for the sake of Allah, guys, you will never taste the sweetness of faith. That's the only way you can perfect your belief in Allah. In other words, you have to put aside your likes, your dislikes. The Khalaf, they base everything on their opinions. Like I said, why is it, the sister asked the other day, why is it, Sister Layla, that a lot of these men are telling us women that we can't be beautiful? Why is it that a lot of these brothers are telling us that we can't wear makeup, that we can't wear colors, that we can't speak, that we have to cover our face? Well, it's because it's all based on their opinion, their feelings, their views. They don't understand. It's just like a person asking me, like I gave the example yesterday, a person asking me, why is it when we make wudu over our sock or our shoe, we just do it over the top of the shoe, the top of the sock, and not the bottom? It's because Allah has wisdom that we don't have. These brothers can't understand that the woman's face is not the most attractive part of her body. Okay? But in their mind, they think it is. So they'll say, put a bag on you, be ugly. You can't wear kohol. You can't wear makeup, because it's based on their opinion. We have to get away from our opinion, our logic, our reasoning, and just yield to what Allah says. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was clear. He said the lawful and the unlawful have been clearly defined by Allah. The things that Allah does not mention are lawful. You need to accept his concessions. Allah doesn't mention anything about makeup. Allah doesn't mention anything about kohol. He doesn't mention anything about a nail polish. He doesn't mention anything about lotion. Nothing about deodorant. So that means all those things are lawful. That's what the Prophet said. That's how the companions understood it. The Prophet's wives wore kohol. The Prophet's wives painted their nails, and they didn't just use henna. Henna was not the only thing that the companions used to color themselves with. Okay? So again, like Imam Malik said, until we get to their understanding, we're going to remain lost. Okay? And in order to perfect Tawheed, you have to have that understanding that those companions had. And one of the most critical aspects of achieving Tawheed is to follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam inwardly and outwardly. What does that mean? That means as Muslims, we should strive to emulate him, not these men and women of today. You want to emulate the Prophet's character, his actions, his teachings, and apply them in your life. By doing this, you can restrain your heart from seeking anything other than Allah and him. Y'all understand that? And also, Tawheed, it has two essential pillars. What are the pillars of Tawheed? Y'all should remember this from the other class I taught, from the first book. The first pillar of Tawheed is negation. What does that mean? I'm negating anything that contradicts belief in Allah. And the second pillar is affirmation. Negation refers to denying anything that could compromise the oneness of Allah. And affirmation refers to acknowledging Allah's sovereignty, his names, that only he has the right to be worshiped. So those are the two pillars of Tawheed. Okay? And those two pillars relate to wal Bara. Bara, this is the negation. Wala, this is the affirmation. Y'all understand that? Basic Tawheed with that. All right. So now, guys, this chapter is so intense, and it sets the record you know, for the second volume. What I want to do now is give you a quiz just to see how well you understood what I'm talking about today, because I know this can get confusing. So let's see how well you guys can answer these questions I have. It's just a couple of questions. And by the way, let me log in on this other computer so I can see the people on Facebook's answers. Hold on, I'm coming in now. Give me a second. Oh, let me bring my other. And I guess I nuked that little kid out of here. Thank goodness. He tried to nuke me off the internet, and I guess I got him out. I'm glad I had my laptop sitting here, because I put my little machine on too to knock him out. Okay, hold on. Okay, now I can see. Okay, I logged my other computer in so I can see your answers. The people on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Trovo, you guys can type the answers too, because I can see it, because I got my other laptop in here. All right, let's see how well y'all can do with this quiz. First question. Oh yeah, hold on, I'll take it down. One of the brothers just as type said, move the thing out the way. Okay, hold on. I kept it up there so that people can see the book to order. I'll take it down. Give me a second. Here it is. Okay, here we go. First question. The Islamic faith is based upon what two fundamental principles that are closely connected and related? I've been talking about it all day. Who can answer? The Islamic belief system is based upon what two fundamental principles? I'll give you guys a clue. It's
the oneness of Allah, and wal Bara, distance yourself from.
Okay. What do you guys, look at this cat. Let me spray this down. What do you guys say about her answer? I can hear you. I'm getting ready to spray this.
I agree.
Wait a minute. Now, get away from there. Spray that door to keep the cat from trying to get in there. Okay, mashallah. Let me look on here. Their answer is correct. Islamic faith is based on two fundamental principles, guys. Tawheed, which is the oneness of Allah, and wal Bara, which refers to allegiance and disassociation. Good job. Good job, sister, brother Akiz. Okay, next question. Whose approach to understanding wal Bara is based on adherence to the principles of Tawheed and the guidance of the Quran and Sunnah? Is it the Salaf or is it the Salaf? Whose approach to understanding? Go ahead. Whoever it is, what's your answer?
The Salaf.
Okay, you guys agree with her? She said the Salaf. Y'all agree?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, hold on for a second. Okay. Mashallah, good job. That answer is correct. Good job, Sakina. It's the Salaf. Good job. Good job. Next question. Which of the following contribute as to why the Khalaf have a misunderstanding of wal Bara? Is it theory? Is it reasoning? Is it analysis? Science? All of the above, or everything except science? Which answer is correct?
It's all of the above.
You guys agree? I'm waiting on Facebook to answer too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Mashallah, good job. That's correct. It's all of the above. And that's why I'm telling y'all need to be careful of these women and men that y'all flopping around on YouTube listening to. I see where a lot of y'all going. Y'all listening to all these Muslims talk about Islam based on theory. They're using reasoning, analysis, science, but they ain't using the Quran and the Sunnah. Even when we talk about marriage, and divorce, it should be based on Quran and Sunnah, not based on theory, not based on statistics, not based on analysis or reasoning. When you talk about a dysfunctional family, it should be based on Quran and Sunnah the same way I do, you guys. When you guys ask me questions about Islam, even about raising kids, every answer I give y'all is based on Quran and Sunnah, not theory, not reasoning, not analysis, not science. But you guys listen to those people. You listen to the Khalaf. Subhanallah. And this is why many of you are celebrating birthdays, married to non-Muslim men, and all that other stuff y'all doing. Not wearing hijab and all that other crap. Okay, next question. To properly apply the concept of wal Bara, one must have perfected their understanding of what? In other words,
the oneness of Allah.
MashaAllah. Y'all agree with their answer? They said Tawheed, the oneness of Allah.
Yes.
Yes, MashaAllah. That's correct. And this is why people are celebrating these holidays and birthdays. It's not a matter of lawful and unlawful. It's a matter of allegiance, guys. 'Tis the season. You guys should not be celebrating any of these holidays. None of them. Next question. What are the two pillars of Tawheed? What are the two pillars of Tawheed?
Affirmation and negation.
She said affirmation and negation. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
MashaAllah, good job. Exactly. Mina's on the ball. What are the two pillars of Tawheed? To affirm the oneness of Allah. And the second pillar is to negate anything that contradicts that. MashaAllah. And this is the last question. Okay, the Sheikh is watching. Good. MashaAllah. He said he's watching. Of the pillars of Tawheed, which relates to of the pillars of Tawheed, which one relates to al-wala and which one relates to al-bara? Good job, Sakina. Of the two pillars of Tawheed, who can tell me which one relates to wala and which one relates to al-bara? Nobody knows?
Wala is affirmation, and wal Bara is the
Negation.
yes.
MashaAllah, good job. MashaAllah. And by the way, guys, the Sheikh said good job. he heard y'all answers. Okay, good job. MashaAllah. So you guys did good on this quiz, and this is very important, guys. I'm going to tell y'all something. We're living in some trying times. You know, a lot of people ask, what can we do to help the Palestinians? First of all, they don't need your help because they already know this stuff. Remember, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, which people are tested the most? He said the prophets. And then after them, those who are strongest in faith. So the people that you see war and stuff like that coming to, those are the people strongest in their faith. So to be honest, the Palestinians don't need your help because they have a relationship with Allah. They understand the concept of Tawheed. They understand where their allegiance is. They're showing it now as they band together. They've understood this for centuries. Okay? But what we can do is pray for them. And we can pray and ask Allah, to keep them strong in their faith. We can pray and ask Allah to keep them with the ability to handle their trial. But basically, they don't need you or me for nothing, because we ain't there. We're not there yet. We're not on their level. Remember, Allah says in the Quran, we're all on different levels. We're not on their level. When you look at a woman who calls herself a congresswoman, dressed with a turban on her head, which is an outright curse, no abaya on, crying about the babies, Allah ain't listening to her. Is Allah listening to that woman? A woman that's outright publicly defying him, publicly letting the world know that she disagrees with what he says about dress. You can't help no Palestinians. You can't help nobody. You better go help yourself. What did the prophet said? Charity begins at home. Save your soul from the hellfire, and then your family. Them people don't need you. If anything, you'll curse them, not help them. If you were around them, they'd be ducking and dodging, hoping that they're not sitting with you when Allah send the lightning bolt. They wouldn't sit in your company. I wouldn't. Subhanallah. So we have to check ourselves, and we have to get back to practicing this religion the way those original companions did. We have to stop taking the women and men of today as our role model and life coach, and instead learn about the prophet. Come to these classes. My classes at this website are free of charge and center around two things: Aqidah, and Seerah. The Quran, and the Hadith. We're teaching you about the companions. We're teaching you about the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're teaching you what your belief system should be. We're giving you the tools that you need to handle your trials in life and better yourself. But all we can do is offer them to you. We can't make you accept them. All right. So I'm going to stop right here.